Welcome to a fly on the wall. Today I'm going to look at Trump's inauguration speech, and that makes this a fly on the wall of freedom. I don't know about you, but I was really inspired by Trump's inauguration speech. I haven't been that inspired in years. And when I saw that speech, I felt like America was entering its own new world order. Trump looked at three main areas. He wants to put America first. He wants to return the country to its first principles of constitutional republicanism. And he understands that Americans essentially want two things: freedom with a capital F and the good life, which is their individual pursuit of happiness. And because this is what Trump is pursuing, I realized that he has opened the way to do what Barack Obama was called by God to do, but completely fell down on the job. And that was, and is, to end the problem of black and white race relations in America. With Trump and his emphasis on putting Americans first, on returning the balance of power in the federal government to the citizens, and away from the elitist career politicians and hangers-on and that kind of crowd, and recognizing that the most important thing for Americans is their individual freedom and their God-given right to pursue their individual happiness, opens the door for a complete reconciliation between blacks and whites. And this is something that I'm going to be looking at in later episodes, and something that I'm going to be pursuing with the churches in America, and hopefully even beyond that. When Trump puts America first, he's looking for a win-win for all sides. Whether he's dealing with people in government, between government and citizens, or between America and other nations, America first means to make sure that we come out of every situation with a win-win result. That is how you put yourself first, and not just be some selfish bastard taking from another person. A good businessman negotiates in good faith using a win-win strategy. An evil, rapacious businessman always goes into a negotiation with a win-lose strategy. What can I get and how can I take it from the other? That is not Trump. But the balance of power issue has gotten so out of whack that Americans no longer feel that they can pursue their individual course of happiness, and they don't feel free anymore. They feel like they have become the slaves of the federal government and the people who have come to control the levers of power there. It's been liberals who have been foisting upon Americans every manner of oppression for 75 years. And Republicans and conservatives, when they got into power, they did the exact same thing, just on a smaller scale. Everybody wants to get into the federal government and use its power to coerce others to live the way they want them to live, to surrender the freedoms they want them to surrender so that others can have freedoms they want them to have. That's win-lose. But a win-win means that every American is free. That means, to you Christians out there, and you Muslims and everybody else, that you can't force other people to live life the way you want to live life. If you don't like gays or LGBT people, tough. You're going to have to get used to the fact that that's their individual life's happiness. If you don't like it, go and persuade them with the compassion of Christ and the common sense of the gospel and the Word of God. If you want to be free, you have to let them be free. And that goes for every other group in America, no matter what they are. Freedom for you means freedom for others. That's Trump's essential mentality as he comes into the presidency. So in his efforts to return the balance of power to the people, Trump wants to drain the swamp. He wants to reduce government regulation. He wants to reduce laws that impinge upon people's ability to live their lives. But at the same time, government's number one responsibility is to protect the rights of every American citizen. That means there's always a need for regulation to control factories, pollution, cars on the road. Anything that could result in harming others has to have some form of regulation. But it doesn't have to be so excessive. Liberals have created massive excessive regulation because they refuse to hold people accountable. It's very simple, for instance, to end the problem of gun crime. When you use a gun in the crime, you go to prison for 30 years. If you kill a person with a gun, you go to prison for life. That happens to a number of people. You're going to see people going back to the days when they committed crimes and made damn sure they didn't have a gun. That works across all walks of life as well. If you want to enforce regulations about polluting, then when someone pollutes, you hold them absolutely accountable, no matter how rich they are. That means government has to be completely transparent so that the people can see what their representatives are doing for them. You can't hide cronyism. So when I watched Trump's speech, I was really inspired to understand that now, at long last, after 8 years of oppressive hell under Obama, Americans who believe in reconciliation between the races, your time is now. Now is the time to reach out and bring an end to the racial acrimony and bitterness and animosity that has been tearing up our country. Barack Obama spent 8 years lambasting whites, lambasting Americans, lambasting freedom and constitutional republicanism in support of his belief that all those things were bad and that they had to be thrown away and we needed to adopt something new. Something, well, not exactly new, something actually quite old, something called Europe. Barack Obama doesn't like 50 independent sovereign states. He likes a one national government that controls the whole country. That is the liberal progressive mentality. And you can see what it did for Europe. It's put them through world wars. It's put them through Nazism and fascism. It's put them through communism, socialism. It's murdered millions and millions of them. It's destroyed their infrastructure on several occasions, left them in ruins and rubble. We don't need that in America. America has a new way and a better way. Constitutional republicanism. 50 independent sovereign states who work together under a federal republican constitution. And in future episodes, I'm going to be touching on that as well. But right now, I just wanted to give this I just wanted to communicate my inspiration with Donald Trump's speech. As he started his campaign, I didn't think much of him because I was used to his bombastic behavior in New York City when I lived there for many years. I didn't think he really had what it takes to be president. But as he went through the campaign, I was swayed by his principles that he was articulating time and again. And his principles were not just some empty populism that people have used in the past, like Hitler and Mussolini and the Marxists and the communists and the liberal progressives, to sway people to their way of thinking so that they could get the votes and then go and implement their agendas. Trump believes that all Americans are equal. He believes that all Americans are free people, and that our constitutional government's first duty is to protect their individual freedom to interact with their lives as little as possible so that they are free to pursue their happiness. That changed my mind about Trump, and I became an avid supporter. Hillary Clinton? Nah, she's a European socialist. She wants to create a single national government that control all the states and therefore control all the people and make rules for everybody based on identity politics. Nothing is more hateful to a real American. A real American doesn't believe in identity politics. A real American doesn't believe in white Americans or black Americans or Asian Americans or Hispanic Americans or any hyphenated American. A real American sees another American as just an American. And anybody who sees themselves different, I'm sorry, bud, you're not a real American. You're a faux American. You're a phony, fake, deceiving, deceitful American. You're trying to pull the wool over the eyes of other Americans. So the new world order, what the millennial generation is joshingly calling the Trumpenreich, is the time in which Americans have to reclaim their government for the people and by the people and of the people. And as we do that, we are going to reclaim all the good promise of America. And that includes the promise that every human being is created equal and is free to pursue their dreams and realize their own happiness. And that's my observation as a fly on the wall of freedom.